Hi guys. Now I'm super excited for this episode of Estate Agency Mastery because we have an absolute legend, a world-class agent. And as much as I like taking the mick out of him, I really, really do believe that. He's just joined the self-employed world at EXP and gone on. And already what you're doing, I think you're setting the world alight, and it's an honor and a privilege to have you on. So Alex, now I've blown all that smoke up your ass. You better deliver, sir. If I'm an agent in Birmingham, Belfast, Bognor Regis, I'm going to listen to you for the next 15 to 25 minutes of my life. I need to get some value. So what do you got for us?
Well, first and foremost, thank you for having me on. Honor to be here. But I think the biggest thing I think you can do to transform your business today, whether you're a negotiator, valuer, it doesn't matter, or business owner, is don't be afraid to do the things that everyone else is afraid to do. And I think that's where you can, whether that be video, social media, door knocking, whatever it is, there's I think fear is one of the things that keeps us back. I mean, it's what keeps us alive. There's the reason you don't walk out in front of moving traffic because you as a human, you're naturally obviously protecting yourself. So it's kind of getting kind of comfortable with being uncomfortable and just trying things. And that's
How
something
do you do?
I've found
How do
from,
you do it, Alex? Though, right? So I agree that, and I'll get you to say that quote again because I really, really like it. But all right, yeah, well done, mate. But how do you force yourself into that mindset? Because you've had to do it, right?
yeah, one of the things I always try and remind myself there could be something worse I could be doing. And I suppose in the sense that not that it's not to obviously say that it's to compare it's anything like it, but there are a lot of people out there that go out and do jobs every day that they have to knock on doors and deliver terrible news, the world shattering news to people. And so it could always be worse. If you're knocking that door, you're there to help. But you still get that feeling, all those thoughts come into your head. They're going to kick me down the driveway. They're going to tell me to F off and to stop sending leaflets. But, from the ones that I have spoken to, they've been nice conversations, and some of them have led places. Unfortunately, some have gone on to still sell with the agent, but it's still been nice to get your name out there. And I think, especially like I said, if there's nobody else is doing it, or things like door knocking is how you do it. It could be agents door knocking in your area, but if they're door knocking just saying your agent's crap, come with us, they're it's not the same as going in and saying, well, are you looking to move anywhere? Where are you moving to? Can I help with that? And just offering advice. Here's my latest market update. Here's a guide on preparing your house for sale. Whatever it is, I think you just got to be prepared to deliver some value and be prepared. Same with video. Make sure that if you're doing video, make sure that it's relevant and that people want to watch it. So, but don't be afraid to do those things. When, as I said, just to repeat it for you, don't be afraid to do the things that everyone else is afraid to do. Because if you can do that, you're already miles ahead of the competition because the other agents will be kept in that kind of fear of the unknown. Well, like I said, that could take your business from here to here, literally within an instant.
I'm going to put you on the spot here because you're an experienced guy. Do you think every agent in the UK listening to this should door knock?
I think it's like look, you've got to find what works for you. It isn't for everybody. Some people, to the point you don't need to be giving you, if it's giving you massive anxiety that you're shaking out of the car, don't do it, but find something you do like to do. And I think that's the thing with marketing is that, not, you can't do everything. And I think if you try and do everything, you'll end up burning yourself out. You've got to try and choose what works for you. And some people that's video, some people that's door knocking, some people that is just, might just be social media and just or spending time in the community. There are agents out there that they don't do anything on social media. They don't gloat about anything on social media, but they'll be fully active in their communities, every event, sponsoring events. So I just think you just got to find what works for you. But yeah, but I think everyone should at least try it. If it doesn't work, then well, at least you say you tried.
Fine. Final question on that. And I'm sticking on door knocking. How do you fire yourself up? Right. We're filming this in January. It's cold. It's damp. It's shite. I can only imagine what it's like in Wales. What do you do to fire yourself up when you don't want to do it?
I suppose you've got to think about why you're doing what you're doing, and it's different now. I'm not, if you're an employed door knocker, I guess there's always that thing. Well, I'm only going to earn 100 quid out of the deal, so I can get. For me, I kind of think, no, this is my business now. I'm self-employed. I have to make this work. there's no one else to hold me responsible. It's on me. If and you just got to think, well, what if I didn't door knock that person? And there is one. I'll say it would be hands on. There's a house that was on, haven't door knocked it. Should have door knocked it. Guess what? It's just changed to a different agent. Now I'm kicking myself now, thinking should have fucking knocked it. But so you got to think back to that other house that you could have won and think, right, I don't want that to happen again. So it's maybe worth getting out there and go knocking some other doors, or just putting a leaflet through the door. Don't have to knock it, just putting something through the door. When I say door knocking, it doesn't have to be straight away. It might just be just a little leaflet, market update, even just through the letterbox. If you feel not that confident knocking the door, just still delivering something by hand. Christmas cards. I must have delivered 100 Christmas cards at Christmas by hand, and I had a couple of responses. So, it's just little things like that that you don't have to physically knock it, but just be prepared to deliver some value.
Ultimately, that failed door knock then cost you and your family a few £1,000s. Is that fair?
Yeah. Well, no,
That's the way
obviously
you
it's
got to.
yeah. Well, and where it leads to, because you think, oh, well, that listing could have led to my next one. That could have been that you could have lost that, and you start thinking it, and it kind of cascades then. And it's easy to think to yourself that, you start running with all these scenarios in your head of what could have been and all this kind of thing. But you just got to think, well, you can't change that. So just focus on. My wife has to say to me, I'll be getting myself into a rut, and she'll just say, "Look, you lost it. It's gone to somebody else. Move on." And it's so it's good that I've got her there, because sometimes, like I said, if you don't have that person, it's just very easy to go into a hole
Yeah,
and forget about that. There is lots of other opportunity out there. It's only one house out of the thousands of houses in your area that you could be trying to connect with.
I love that. And fail forward, fail fast, fail often is one I live by. So cool.
Well,
Listen,
the more you fail, the more you fail, the more you learn. That's another one I
100%,
love.
buddy. Listen, thanks for letting me dig you out on the door knocking piece. The reason I do that is I think a lot of agents, like you say, if it gives you crippling anxiety, don't do it. But I think a lot of agents have it within them to do, but it's the fear of what's going to happen. And Matt Giggs talks a lot about false evidence appearing real, which I think he nicked from Tony Robbins. If you train yourself up on great scripts and great objections and great pattern, you go there with value. 90% of the time, they're very, very positive conversations. And I think we're one of the only countries in the world where you can actually knock on a door on a for sale board. It goes again. You can lose your license in the US for doing that, right? So a for sale board is a big sign saying I cannot sell, but I want to. And if we shift our mindset in the UK, I think that's really powerful. So, all right, let's move on from door knocking, because it's a quick game, it's a good game. Alex, what else you got for us?
Right. So I think if you're trying to figure out how can you grow your business in your area, is look at your competitors and don't copy what they do. I think as agents, a lot of agents are very used to, if an agent starts doing something, they think we've got to do it too. And we had it where I used to work. We did a flyer about the 7 bridge tolls coming down, and we did that. And literally, another agent in our town copied it word for word. They didn't even change the context of it. The copy was the same, just a different style of leaflet. And it's kind of think, well, just do your own thing. Really think to yourself, what can you do better than them to make yourself stand out? So, if all the agents in your town, for instance, I don't know, they're closed on a Sunday, think, well, that is it. If every other agent is closed and doesn't do anything on a Sunday, we need to start opening Sundays, and we're going to shout about it from the rooftops and be that first one, because no one likes a copycat. It's the same with video. No one's doing video in your town. I mean, to be fair, if there's a town at the moment that doesn't have an agent doing video, I think that is like a golden goose. Like, you want to jump on that, because so many agents are on the bandwagon now. It was different 2, 3 years ago when I started doing it, but even now I look at myself as I'm running behind a lot of the other agents, and there's agents out there creating phenomenal video content. But if no one's doing video in your town, get on that bandwagon, get it, because you don't want to be the one that everybody says, oh, they copy that agent, because you want to become known as Chris Watkins says, you want to become the digital mayor of your town. So use that as your opportunity to get out there. So, look, and even if it's down to photos, if no other agent's doing professional photography in your town, start doing professional photography. Offer the best marketing in town. So I think that's something that is, so important to leverage what you have, not worry what others are doing. So, I think that, if you're trying to, if as a self-employed agent trying to win your first listing, people often say, oh, how do I do it? How do I go up against these agents that have been established for 30, 40 years? How do I do it? Well, you just say to them, when you've got the benefit, you're in front of a client pitching for the business, you tell them and be honest with them, look, you are my first instruction. And what that means you're not going to be one of 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 houses I've got to look after. You are going to get 100% of my time, 100% of it, because you're the only house I've got to sell. So if a buyer comes across my lap, I don't know if that's the right phrase, but if a buyer falls into my lap, guess whose house I'm going to show them? I'm going to tell them they're going to buy yours. And so it's the same, the opposite. If you're the market leader in your town, leverage that. Maybe don't throw pie charts up everywhere, but use that as now actually look, we sell the most houses in our town, therefore we meet the most buyers. We've got the biggest database because of that, so we're more likely to find you the right buyer because we've got the database, we've got the sales, or it might not be sales volume, it might be you've got the biggest success rate. So you can say, look, yes, the other agent in town, they do sell 100 houses a year. Yeah, they do. And I know we only sell 50, but did you know that 50% of those sales they agreed last year fell through? Where actually our fall through rate's only around 70%. So actually, you're more likely to actually complete with us than you are if you go with that agent. So again, it's knowing what you can leverage. So, kind of if you don't know that and you're going out and pitching for business, I would say that is 100% something you need to know exactly what your competitors are doing. Create a competitor compare sheet. Just go through it and have yes, no, what they do and don't do. Have it and just at least then that way. Even if you use it as a prompt. When I first started with my employer 5 years ago, I literally took it with me and I had it with me. I went through it with the owners, basically because I had to learn it. And I kind of felt the more I talked about it with in front of people, the more I very quickly picked up what it was, the other agents, to a point that I didn't need it. Because if someone said, oh, we're going to go with agent A, I could say, that's, they're a good agent. But I know that agent A doesn't advertise on this website, or I know that, agent A doesn't do the professional photography. And, it's knowing those things. And I think that, which kind of leads me into my next point, which is that because of that, then you should be able to charge what you're worth. And I think that,
Just jump in before we get there,
yeah,
because I just wanted to throw in a bit of gold to what you've said. When you work out, we sell the most homes, most buyers come across our lap. I like that one because we're the market leader. Or who do you think is going to go to war for you to get the best price the market will allow when I've only got one property, or I want to only sell five? Whatever your USP or your differentiation. I think the key is knowing it so well, but then you have to ask the client a question so that they agree with you off the back of that. So based on the fact it's my only listing, Mr. Vendor, who do you think is going to play all out and go to war to get the best price for you that the market will allow? Well, I think you will, Alex. Okay, and why is that? Well, if it's your own, etc. So then they're agreeing with you, but they're playing back to you why they should use you rather than agents love getting pardon my French here, but it's a big dick competition, right? We've got this pie chart, like you say, we sell all these homes, we do whatever, where actually vendors tend to get bamboozled. What you want to do is explain your USP and then get them to tell you why that's going to benefit them, and you'll see your fees, which we'll move on to, and everything else go up massively.
Which I think, especially if, and I've come across this before, where someone said to me, "Oh, I've had two agents they both told me they sell the most houses, so I don't know who to believe." They both put pie charts in front of me, but they didn't give any context as to why people choose them, why they sell the most. They just said, "Oh, we sell the most houses," and left it at that. There was no real, like I said, what's in it for me? The client might think that's great, but what does that mean for me? And if you can go into it and, like you said, ask them, well, this is, and kind of ask them prompting questions, like you said, to get that response. It's almost in a way letting the seller think that it's their idea. They've thought that actually, no, I know why I need to use this because they sell the most. It kind of leads them to where you want to. And but I think, yeah, certainly asking the right questions is crucial in an appointment.
Nice. In a market then where it's been a strong start to 2024, we're only 16 days in as at point of recording this, and I know the stats are we've seen about 25% more listings come to the market and just over 50% more sold subject to contract than the exact time last year in 23. It's strong, right? So realistically, there's going to be lots of properties on there, loads of agents competing. Is now the time that we do a bit of a fee deal, we drop our fees to get business?
Um, I think there are a lot of agents out there that do fee deals, or they're doing promotions, and it's the same promotion they've been doing all year. It isn't a promotion, and I think some of the clients do kind of see through it. And I think that if you actually ask clients what's important to them, it's not fee. And I think that's where agents get so bogged down on we've got to make sure that fees low. It's January sale, we cut our fees. We're actually, that's not the reason the agents invited you out. They've invited you out because you sold the one down the road and did a really good job. So why then say, oh yeah, if you know that, and they're like, well, why would you then drop your fee? Just because you've got this thing, I think as soon as you put any fee promotions out there, it's like it's a noose around your neck. And I know there are agents that have gone in and started saying, we'll only do 999 for the first 10 customers. 2 years later, they've only just managed to work their fee up to 1,500 because they became known as you're the agents that do the really cheap fees. And I think we all know cheap fees attract the wrong kind of clients. And I think more people would rather you say, look, I charge more and I deliver a better service. And I think charging what you're worth, you need to think, well, why am I worth more? And that might be you know for a fact you do achieve higher prices. If you've got several case studies of homes that have been on the market with other agents and you sold for more money, or ones that you valued 10 grand higher than any other agent and you've got that extra 10 grand and all that, that's where you should be able to easily sit down with the seller and to say the reason I'm £5,000 more, Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, is because on average I agree my clients £15,000 more than any other agent does in the town. And I think if you put it in monetary terms to a client, and this was something that years ago Julian O'Dell said, that if you're sitting there going to clients, oh, I'm 0.1% more, 0.2%. If you ask most people what's 1.25% of 575,000, like I think I'm rubbish with maths. Literally numbers go into my head, they get jumbled up. I can't do maths, and most people can't do maths, and you're throwing these percentages at them. So sometimes putting things in the monetary value, people relate to it because if you say £15,000, what could you do with 15 grand? I mean, Chris, you're probably thinking that's just a layer of concrete that I've got to pour next week. But, for a lot of people, they'll be thinking that's the new kitchen, that's the holiday, that's we can get the bathrooms redone. So, people will relate more to the money. So if you can show that in monetary terms, rather than saying, oh, we agree on average 2% more. We achieved 102% of marketing price. Well, what was it? I don't know what the marketing price was. So if you actually said to people, we achieved our clients £15,000 more than it was on with the market with another agent, that is so powerful. But again, even it doesn't have to be based on performance. It could be based on the fact that you do the best marketing. So the reason that we charge more is because we offer the best marketing, which the benefit to you is that we attract more buyers, therefore we have more viewings, therefore we prompt more offers, therefore statistically we stand a better chance of achieving a higher price. So that's why I charge an extra X amount more than my competitors, because I know in doing so I'm going to achieve another 2, 3, 4% on the value of the home because of that marketing. So it's kind of not letting that initial kind of fee really be the barrier. And I'm quite upfront with people. I tell people what my fee is early on in the appointment. I say to them, look, my fee's this, and they already know. So it isn't this thing that's floating around for the whole appointment, wondering what's he going to say. Or they start thinking, blooming hell, this is sounding expensive. He's saying all these things and talk about all this marketing out. What's this going to cost? They know at the start of the appointment, I say to them, this is I'll run through my fees in more detail later, but typically this is what I charge. But we'll come back to that later in the appointment. So it's kind of already out in the open. And hopefully by the time I've explained what I'm doing, they might be thinking, actually, this is much better than what any other agents told us. So
I love
that's
that.
what
There's a couple of things here I want to jump in with. Fee deals are bullshit, and no agent in the UK should be doing them. In the absence of value, fee comes into play. If you don't know how you're pitching, what your competitors are doing, or how you can articulate why you're better, then drop your fees. But it's the reason so many high street branches shut last year. In my view, not knowing your value proposition is criminal in 2024. And if you don't know what yours is, go and write it down. The second bit is, Alex, that you shared with me, which I freaking love, is you have obviously prepped your market appraisal, valuation, listing, but whatever you want to call it. And you say you get that out of the open and you link back to it. A well-rehearsed, world-class market appraisal means that fee only becomes an issue when the value isn't there. And again, it's the easiest option. I did it to learn from my mistakes. I would drop my fees when PB came into town because I didn't want another board on the road. What I didn't do was have a world-class value proposition, and I didn't know how to defend my fee. That's a bit, because everyone wants a deal, right? I'm from Birmingham, where it's, well, what can you do me for, mate? Everyone wants a freaking deal, right? It must be the same in Wales. But if you I love what you shared there, and I just don't want agents to miss it. Of if you know that you're going to be up against someone that is a percent, and you're going in at a percent and a half, and you know we're both going to value it around 500,000, £1,000,000, know what that figure is. And one of my favourite lines here is, listen, the difference is £5,000. Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, do you think I'm going to outperform, out-negotiate, or both the other agent? You don't give them an option to say neither. And 9 times out of 10, they say both. Fee isn't an issue, but agents, you've got to have your value, but then know how to defend it. And you clearly have articulated that through the last bit. I just really wanted to play at home. Fee deals are bullshit. Don't do it.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, and there's all up. At the end of the day, everything's a negotiation, and you can demonstrate negotiation in your fee, and there's no shame in negotiating down your fee. But I think as long as you've demonstrated some worth, like I was on the phone to a client before, it was a 40-minute conversation, and there was lots of back and forth, but I got the deal in the end. All right, a bit less than I would have wanted, but there's always that element to remember that something of something, I don't know what the phrase is, better than 100% of nothing. At the end of the day, if you don't get the instruction, if don't lose it because of 0.1%. If you know it's a house, it's like if you know it's a house that will sell, it's a saleable area, and you know it's going to sell, and you're going to get other buyers through them. I have other homes to sell. It's worth doing it. But if it's a listing where the vendors are unrealistic on price, they're not willing to pay any marketing. They're like giving you all the signals that, well, if we don't sell, we'll take it off. And we've already been on with 3 other agents. They were all terrible. And then they're saying to you, Alex, I want you to do it for this really cheap fee. Then walk away, because not all business is good business. That's another tip, I think, especially for starting out. I've turned business away. Because I just thought, no, all the things they were saying, they weren't aligned with my values, and it's not fair on my other clients who have invested in me and trust me and buy into everything that I'm offering them. If they don't see any value in that, then I don't want to end up with that client, because I know they'll be the one WhatsApping me at 10 o'clock at night, giving me grief over something that hasn't happened yet. So yeah,
there's a subtle nuance here, though, right? And you said a 40-minute conversation. The easiest thing for agents to do is not learn. Go onto YouTube, look at Tom Ferry. There's so many people, and look at objection handling and protecting your fee. And once you have that pattern, those scripts, it very, very easy is to defend your fee, which I'm sure you did in the 40-minute process. Like you say, at the very end, you negotiate if you need to, right? But one of my favorite lines is, hey, listen, Mr. Vendor, if I can't negotiate in my own money, how am I going to negotiate on what you've told me is your biggest asset? Right? Do you want a Rottweiler in your corner negotiating for the best price the market will allow, or someone that can't negotiate on their own and ultimately their own family's money? Well, I want a Rottweiler, Chris. Let's get the contract signed, right? And there's millions, there's loads, but for me, you've got to understand your value and then be able to go to war to protect it. And that's what I've taken from our conversation today. Alex, we're going to have to draw it there. We're going to have to get you on another time. I know we may have not covered everything, but this is bite size. If you're in your car, if you're going to the toilet, go on. You want to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, I've got one last point. It's very brief. To sum everything up, everything I've talked about, the easiest way to think of all of it is input equals output. That's all you got to think. What you put in, you will get out. If you put the effort in, the hours in, the training in, whether it's listening to podcasts like this, just put the input in and you'll get it out. And just always try to be 1% better every day. Don't try and think you've got to go from here to here. Just make those little adjustments, and even if it's in your fee, 0.1% each week. And then think, oh, that was easy. Go up another 0.1%. So those little marginal gains are much better than saying I'm going to go from 0.5% to 2% in your fees, and that might be too big a jump. But at least then that way. So yeah, but input equals output, guys.
I love it. Alex, you're incredible. There are going to be people in their car, sat in their toilet, wherever they're listening to this podcast, going, what gold. I appreciate you, buddy, and I'll catch you soon.
Yeah, all the best, mate. Thanks for having me on.
Cheers.